Altucher knows a thing or two about comebacks. In 1998, he sold his first company for $10 million. And with another $5 million in the bank, he set out to make another fortune in cyber tech investments. 2 years later, he had lost everything. Today, he's back on top as the managing director of Formula Capital, an asset management firm. And he's teaching others how to take control of their lives and make their own success. His wildly popular blog, Altucher Confidential, is a must-read for leaders in many different industries. His weekly podcast often peaks at #1 on iTunes, and his best-selling book, Choose Yourself, has been named one of the best business books of all time. So what are the lessons about leadership and success he dispenses? Well, he's learned a lot on his journey from rock bottom to influential thought leader. He joins us now from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, with some of his insight. James, welcome.
Well, thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Tell me about your simple daily practices, and when did you arrive at them, and how important are they?
You know, we all go through these moments in our lives where there's intense suffering. You know, maybe somebody lost a lot of money, maybe someone lost a close family member or a spouse or a job or a career. We all feel at some moment we're on the floor and we ask ourselves, how can I get up off the floor? And I was in this situation many times, particularly revolving around business failures and money and so on. And finally I had to say to myself, what works on the way up and what doesn't work on the way down? And what I kind of realized was, and it sounds almost very simple, but if I'm simply physically healthy, emotionally healthy, which means I spend time mostly with people I love and trust and people who trust and respect me. If I'm creatively healthy, so I'm coming up with 10 ideas a day, bad ideas or good ideas, it doesn't matter if I'm exercising that creative muscle. And if I'm grateful for what I have, as opposed to living in the past with regret or living in the future with anxiety and worry. If I'm grateful for right now, then I know that today will be okay. And the best predictor of a successful tomorrow is a successful today.
You mentioned grateful for life, but your book starts at a point in time where you weren't all that grateful. I mean, you lost everything. You're talking about suicide. Perhaps the life insurance policy was the best thing, and if you could figure out some way to kill yourself, then you'd take care of your kids and stuff. It was a really gripping way to start it, and I've heard you talk about how you went to the therapist and he said, how can I help you? And you said, can you give me $1 million? And he said, that's not the answer. But talk to me, walk us through that transformation, because you mentioned people have adversity in their lives. I mean, yours was pretty substantial. How do you walk yourself back up the ladder?
Well, yeah, you know, there was a point where I defined my self-worth by my net worth. And when you do that, it's almost a guarantee that the universe is going to bang on your net worth to make your self-worth as low as possible. So I literally was on the floor thinking, boy, you know, my kids would be better off with my life insurance policy than with a father, since at that time they were young enough they wouldn't necessarily remember me. And you know, it was difficult because this didn't just happen just once. I came back again, sold another business, and then I was back on the floor again. So it happened to me enough times that I had to finally take a step back and say, every decision that got me to this point was probably a bad decision, because here I am on the floor again. So it was at this point I said, you know what, I've got to just start spending time again with people I really respect and who are good people. And I've got to be creative every day. And gratitude is incredibly important, because even when you're at your lowest point, it's like we said earlier, I can put 2 meals of food into my stomach. I can be grateful for my children. I can be grateful, you know, I'm alive and I'm healthy and so on. And every day I can work on these things that make me even healthier, that make me even more creative, that bring more good people into my life. And I will guarantee you, when you focus on your daily life like this, you will be taken care of. Financial opportunities are given to you. Because think about it, you want to do business with people who you like, with people who are nice to you, with people who are creative. So if you focus every day on improving 1%, you know, your creativity, your health, the friendships you have, your gratitude, you're going to be the type of person who comes up with ideas and the type of person that people want to do business with.
What about one of your philosophies, be a good leader to yourself? Because we're talking about leadership. Talk to me about what that means and why it's so important.
You know, you can't be a leader to others, and this is sort of obvious, but you can't be a leader to others if you don't have a grip on what's going on with yourself. For instance, if you're sick in bed, obviously you have to rest. You can't be a leader to others. If you're not creative, and if you don't have a vision for your business or your organization going forward, and you're not coming up with ideas constantly, you can't be a good leader for others. If you're not emotionally sensitive to what's going on with your customers and with your friends, or if you have emotional problems coming from the home, you're not going to be a good leader to others. If you're regretting too much what some employee did 4 weeks ago, or if you're anxious about a customer deadline 4 weeks from now, you're not going to be a good leader right now, and you're not going to be able to prioritize and focus on what your organization needs right now. So that's why it's important to build up these muscles inside of yourself so you can be a leader to others. You know, a beacon, all a beacon has to do is make sure the lights are clean, and so they flash out on the foggy night. The guy running the beacon doesn't have to drag every ship to shore. He just has to clean the lights so that they shine bright, and that's what a good leader does.
You know, one of the things you talk about is helping people, giving ideas away, not just kind of hoarding them to yourselves, not being envious or a hater. And I was looking for this quote because if somebody brought it up, I wanted to make sure I gave credit where credit was due. Comparison is the thief of joy. Teddy Roosevelt said that. And I think a lot of people get caught up in that, though, don't they?
Yeah, you know, but I think even more important, that's an important quote, but I think the key to wealth is creating wealth for others. So if you want $1 million, create $1 million in value for other people. If you want $1 billion, create $1 billion in value for other people. So it's important every day. What I do every day is I write down 10 ideas a day. And in many cases, I might write down 10 ideas some company I know can improve themselves. And I'll send it to that company for free with no expectation back. I'll do it every single day. I don't care if they steal the ideas. In fact, often they might, or they do. But 1 out of 20 maybe, 1 out of 50, it doesn't matter, will contact me and say, hey, these are great ideas. Can we work on them with you? Or can we pay you to help us implement these ideas? And this has been a great source, and I'll admit it, this has been a great source of wealth for me over the past 5-6 years.
It's interesting. One of the reviewers said that you are scary smart. And as I was reading it, I kind of agree. You had some different charts that you put together, which I never would have thought to put together, kind of illustrating how the consumer price index and salaries and all of that, how it all blends together. That's why you have to choose yourself. Walk us through some of the stuff that you've put together, and how did you arrive there and some of us have not? Why do you think that is?
It's an interesting statistic. The average multimillionaire has 7 different sources of income. If you just have one job, that means you have one source of income. But you're never taught in high school or college or graduate school, hey, we're training you to have 7 sources of income. No, you're taught so that you can get a job. You never think, oh, I need to learn how to sell. I need to learn how to create. I need to learn how to negotiate. I need to learn how to create 7 different sources of income for myself, which means perhaps having hundreds of ideas, because most ideas are not good ideas. It takes thousands of ideas to come up with 7 good ideas. So it's very important I started to realize the only way I was going to make money was to have multiple sources of income. And so that's what I did for myself. None of the things I talk about in this book I consider advice. It's just things that happen to me and problems that happen to me and how I solve them.
You mentioned the word multiple and lots in that last phrase, and I want to go to a word that's the opposite of that, which is less. And I want to read a little bit from your book because I think this is interesting. I'm trying to have fewer things in my life right now, fewer things that upset me, fewer people who bother me, fewer regrets about things that are long dead and buried, fewer anxieties about a future that may or may not exist. I find that if I dig deep and throw away one thing a day, then I wake up the next day a little more peaceful. Talk to us about that.
Right. So I took that to an extreme recently. I actually threw out everything in my house. So not necessarily throw out. Sometimes gave to charity, but books, furniture, extra plates, extra sheets, all these things that knew I was never going to look at again. And my house now is completely empty. And the easiest way to have a clean house is to have nothing in it. The less things you have, the less things kind of holding you down, the less stress you feel. And when you feel less stress and less anxious and less regret and less worry, it gives you opportunities. It leaves more room inside yourself for creativity, for gratitude. And these are the sources of wealth. And they're also the sources of positive relationships.
Less people, though, some people we can't get rid of, like family and the boss who's making you crazy. I mean, not all bosses are like you, where you want to go to work for them because you make them laugh and you hug people and you do all these great things that release oxytocin. Not a lot of bosses like that. So how do you deal with that?
Well, the roots of the word boss come from the Dutch Baas, B-A-A-S, which refers to essentially a master of slaves. So I don't necessarily agree that you can't get rid of your boss. I mean, some bosses are good and some bosses are bad. But when you have a boss that's not so good, the key is to engage as little as possible. No gossip, no extra chit-chat, no extra small talk. Just deliver what you're supposed to do and focus on your job. But then also look for alternative sources of income. That's why it's important to have multiple sources of income so that you're not relying on a gatekeeper. A boss with just 2 words can ruin your life. He can say you're fired, and then your life's upside down. You want to avoid situations like that. You want to have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. You want to diversify your life, and having, one boss doesn't do that. Family, though, you bring up too.
Yeah.
Not all family is almost the most dangerous. Not the neighbor down the street who doesn't know you, but the family that knows how to press your buttons. But again, if you're having a problem with a family member, the best thing is not to spend extra time with them, but to engage as little as possible while the relationship naturally repairs itself. Everything has cycles up and down, including relationships.
Well, I'm throwing a lot of bosses under the bus, I should say. I've had some good bosses, though, and one of them told me that being a boss is like adult daycare. You're constantly dealing with all these people. So as a leader, I mean, you talk about crappy people that you don't want to be around. What about as a leader? How do you address that?
Well, I think the key to being a successful leader with employees is to train them and show them the path where they can be better than you. To be a good leader, you have to really teach employees how they can learn everything you know, but how they can also the methods how they can learn more than you know. And then that's what they'll remember forever.
Okay, you also say technology is taking people's jobs, so when is it coming from line?
Well, right now, there's something like 30 trillion sensors wired into the internet. There's multiple, robots that are replacing, human jobs. There's nothing wrong with this. This is like when cars replaced horses. Suddenly, all the people involved in driving and maintaining the horse industry were out of work. Well, things change. The economy grows and it innovates and it changes. So robotics, 3D printing, sensors, biotech, now you can do, surgeries done robotically. Soon cars are going to be driven robotically and with sensors. So this is just a natural state of the economy. We can never, and everything moves faster and faster and faster. So there's no longer such a thing as the 40-year job and then the gold watch at retirement. That doesn't exist anymore. So now you have to plan for an economy where you become the leader of yourself. You're the leader of, in my case, James Inc. And I have to make sure James Inc. thrives in this rapidly changing economy. What I call the choose yourself economy, because you have to choose yourself now to succeed. You can't rely on the gatekeepers to lift you up and give you a job or publish your book or give you a TV show or whatever.
James, one final question. In your book, you say if you read the book and you can prove it, that you'll give the money back. I'm not asking for the money, by the way, but I'm curious, how many people have reached out to you and said, hey, here's evidence, I read it, I want my dough?
That's a great question. So the last time I got that request was in late 2013. The book came out in mid-2013, and it was about 1/3 of 1% ultimately asked for their money back. So, and I was happy to give it.
Wow, wild. Well, I'll tell you, it's worth the price paid. It was a great read. Thanks so much, and thanks for the laughs.
Thank you. Thank you very much.